Hello, welcome to another Zoom in the Zone. I'm so thrilled to be here with one of our favorite actresses and my dear friend, Carolann Sanita. Hello, Carolann.
Hi, how are you?
We are doing well here. We all miss being on stage, of course, but hopefully there'll be a quick end and we'll all be able to do our wonderful performances for our patrons again, which we're all looking forward to.
For sure.
Yes. We wanted to ask you, we've had some questions from some of our patrons and our actors wondering, what do you do, especially with such a short process with us, when you're preparing for a role, especially the songs that you have to sing and within your character, what do you do with these songs to help that further the plot and continue with your character?
Well, the first thing I usually do when I find out that I've been cast is I listen to the soundtrack. And I flip through to all the songs that I get to sing, and I kind of decide which ones are gonna, need the most work, or which ones are gonna, I'm gonna get into the most. And then I go on YouTube and I try to find as many performances as possible, many different performances. And I kind of take things that I like from other people's choices and kind of start making a list of things I'd like to try before I start to make it my own, right? So then I make choices based on like what the character is going through. I try to relate it to real things in my life, how I can bring personal experience to what this character might be going through. Because I find that being able to relate to a character personally helps the audience be able to relate to you if you're coming from a place of truth, of something that's actually happened to you. So I try to find all those beats in the journey that the character is taking. And then I sit down when you have to break down all the songs. So I find that each song is a journey in itself, right? So you have the character's journey throughout the whole show, but then you have the songs that the character gets to sing throughout the show, and they each have their little journeys too. And I try to find, so I make this little roadmap of my songs, and that includes like the breath marks, because you have to practice the breaths along with the actual notes as you're learning the song, because your muscles need to, you need to have muscle memory for that. But also for the acting beats as well. So we have a place where the character starts and what happens within the middle of the piece, and then where they come to at the end, like what kind of a conclusion have they come to, so they can move on to the next part of the show and of the story that they're telling. So I kind of write all over my music, and I make the phrase marks, and if there is an accent, I write in the IPA. And then we start to mold it into something that can be like a story, like each song is a story and has its certain beats throughout. So I'll take a phrase and it'll be the writer's words, and then I'll take that phrase and I'll write underneath it my own words. So I think of how I would say what the writer is trying to say, or the character is trying to say in this piece, and I literally put it into my own words. So then as I go back and sing it, even though I'm saying the words that the character is using, I'm feeling and thinking the things that I've already put into, the way that I would actually say it to somebody. And I find that is helpful for me in connecting to the piece, and then also relaying what I'm trying to say to the audience and the story that I'm trying to tell.
Yeah, I think it's important, especially, I guess starting in the Rodgers and Hammerstein era, songs were no longer little interludes that, the audience enjoyed, and then we got back to the plot, as the song itself furthers the plot. So it can't just be about a pretty voice. It has to be a connection that takes the audience on what the character is dealing with. So I think it is important, especially for some of our younger performers out there looking to do this, to remember that it's just not about singing the right notes at the right time.
Right. And so there are a lot of technical things that go into it on many levels, right? You have the vocal technicalities, you have like what you're doing with your body for it. Like, are you in a good position to be vocally secure with what you're doing and vocally healthy? Are you are you projecting your voice enough to get it out into the audience? And then on top of it, you have the acting beats that you have to be secure with. And then after all of that, you have to really live in the moment and just kind of make it happen when you're, you know, when you're on stage. So, or I guess that's where the practice comes in, right? So you practice it so much that by the time you get to performing it, it just kind of becomes this natural thing for you.
I love that you do all the research and watching other people who have performed the song. Many people, and I'm not saying this is a wrong approach either, don't want that at all. They don't want any, but I think if you are firm in the fact that I'm not going to copy this individual, but let me see what this individual did. Let me hear some different, you know, if there was a film of it or whatever, and then let me make it my own.
You know,
I like research, so I think it's good as long as you don't go copy somebody else.
as long as you're not copying, and I'm confident enough in what I do to know that I'm not going to be doing that. I learned something when I was double cast in West Side Story in Europe. There was 2 Tonys and 2 Marias, and I got to watch. We watched when we flipped. We watched each other, and I learned that it's okay. Like, other people's takes on things are good, and it's okay if somebody does something different than you, but there's also a lot that you can learn from watching somebody else's performance and somebody else's choices. Maybe you'll learn something about the character that you never thought of before. So it just kind of gives you a rounder perspective, I
Yeah,
think.
I think that's great. Being a director, I have learned to, in my own preconceived ideas of what a character should be, to not get in the way of what another actor may bring to the table that I never thought of. Because when somebody brings their own truth to a role, it can be really magical.
It's true. It's true, because that essentially that's where the magic comes from, right?
Yeah,
From
yeah,
telling the truth.
yes. Wow. Well, this has been wonderful information for all our patrons and our students and our fellow actors. I thank you so much for giving me some time today. I
Thank
hope you stay safe,
thank
and
you.
that we can all get together soon on stage and perform for everybody again. All right. Take care, Carolann.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye.